Welcome to the new edition of the Harmon Solar Podcast. I'm Rob Romano, VP of Sales and Marketing at Harmon Solar. And today is a special day. We've got the W's in the house.
That's right.
That's right, the W's. So today we're going to really talk about demand managers and demand management. I know that's a question a lot of you guys have. What does this do? How does this work? What does this mean? What are all the stories and rumors out there? So what have I done? I've went right to the company that Harmon Solar actually has partnered with now since 2016. And so from Energy Systems, I've got Steve Wolfel, who is the strategic programs director over there. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Ralph, Ben, thank you for inviting me.
And we got Ben Walschlager. So the W's are in the house, right?
Again.
So Ben's back again. And you know Ben from our SRP podcast that we just recently did. And Ben is our, he's a commercial project manager, but he's also got a million other hats. And we talked about that last time. So he is the do everything, be everything, say everything guy.
I should start wearing those hats that I have.
You should, because it'd be nice to cover that,
Yeah.
especially in the sun. You don't want to get burned, right? And so, Steve, so again, welcome to the podcast. This is kind of cool. We've been working together now since 2016.
Yeah,
right?
we have.
It's been,
I do remember first meetings.
Yeah.
And, you know,
it's been a ride. And what did I tell you when we first met?
we're a local throat to choke.
That's right. I needed a local throat to choke. And there's the throat right
There
there.
it is.
Right? Because when SRP changed things up and got into demand, we got nervous and we had to figure things out like we talked about last week. And we found Steve and his company, Inergy, and their demand controller. And we're going to get into that today. So Steve, tell us a bit about yourself and about Inergy.
Well, Energy Systems, we were a Tempe-based company. We formed back in 2012,
Mhm.
and we do design, manufacture energy management products, platforms. We've been doing that since the late 1980s. Our
Wow.
legacy goes back.
That's
that
right.
far.
I remember you kind of saying they had that product going back in the 80s.
Yeah,
right?
our manufacturing facility, that's what they've been doing since then. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I was born in the 80s, so I'm not really too familiar with
Yeah,
the utility
well, I'm
companies.
giving
But
up
did
my
we have a
age.
lot?
Were you born in the 80s?
I was.
Really?
84, yeah. But was there a lot of demand in
There actually was.
not demand for your company, just
well,
demand as far as utility?
APS put in rebates back then because
Right.
they didn't have Palo Verde. They had demand on the grid, had issues,
Okay.
and they encouraged a fledgling industry to emerge.
So demand managers have been around for
Load controllers, they
decades.
called them back
I didn't
then.
even know that.
I didn't know that either.
So I just learned something on this podcast.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. So, and like I said, so, Harmon Solar, a local owned, family owned Arizona company, and Energy Systems is a local company as well. So keeping it all in the Arizona family, which is kind of important, not just a local throat to choke, which is nice, but just having that partnership with a local company to be able to work with our local residents that go solar, have a demand need, and are able to use their product. And their product, and we've looked. I remember back in 2016, we had multiple people come in and show us their product, and your product by far was the best product that was out there. So, and it hasn't disappointed. It does exactly what it's designed to do, and we'll talk more about that. But it's been a great partnership.
Well,
for
we
us.
appreciate that endorsement, and we will, I'd say, garner that relationship with you.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's important to have that, local company handling local utilities, because I'm sure you see it. Companies from all over the country, they'll come into Arizona and they try to sell solar, and they have no idea what they're doing.
Right, all the time. All the time.
They're brand new and like, this is how we sell solar and SRP.
Right.
No, that's
Doesn't
not
work that way.
Doesn't work that way. You're gonna get chased out real quick.
And we have companies that want to work with us all day long, and they come and they talk and about SRP, and they're just going in there and like, well, hey, you can't do that because it's not going to work. There's demand management. And just let me say this too, there is demand rates on APS as well.
Right.
I know we don't talk about them as much, but they are there as well. And there are people that benefit from those demand rates by using a demand manager and other things. And we'll talk more about that as we get going. So what I'd like to do is let's start at the beginning. And I know we talked about this in the last podcast we had when we got into SRP rates and stuff, but let's just refresh ourselves on what demand is and how that works. So I'll let Ben kind of go over this. We have a slide up that kind of matches perfectly what Ben talked about in the last podcast.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll let you go ahead and run with that.
So a lot of people think and believe how they get billed before they get solar and after they get solar is going to be the same. It's not an SRP. Before you get solar, you're billed based off of your kilowatt usage. You use X amount, they bill you based off of that X amount, depending on the rate and the time that you use it, things like that. Once you get solar and you go on a demand rate, there's multiple aspects to your build now. It's not just the total kilowatt hours, it's also your demand. So there's those two aspects there. And then also the third aspect of the fixed fees and all that other stuff. But demand is interesting because, and I like this analogy of the speedometer and the odometer, because going from point A to point B, let's say it's 100 miles. And I think I've used the same analogy before. So you can get to point A to point B driving 10 miles an hour. It's just going to take you a long time to get there. Probably won't use a whole lot of gas, but you'll just slowly coast along and you eventually will get there. Or you could floor it. You can go 120 miles an hour and get there really quick. But it's probably going to use a lot of gas. You're still covering the same distance, but one's going to be a little bit more expensive and get you there faster, things like that. That's what demand is. Demand is your, speedometer of how fast you're getting there to that point. That pretty much sum it up? Yeah.
That is.
And the odometer is your, you're basically your usage. Yes, you still got to that usage. It's just how you got to that usage is really what SRP looks at as far as billing you.
Right.
And how fast you use it is what impacts their grid.
Right.
The faster you use it, more people going fast, the more they have to produce quickly.
Right. It's expensive to go fast.
Yes, it is.
SRP gives you that speeding ticket.
Yeah, it is.
Nowadays, it's expensive to go slow too.
Sure.
So, I mean, but anyway, I don't do that. Okay, so that matches perfectly what we talked about last time, right? And you concur that's exactly the way to look at demand. And you guys actually do that on your presentation on your website.
We've been using this analogy for 15 years, believe it or not.
So Ben stole it from you without thinking.
No, it's a great minds think alike.
If anyone
is that what it is? Okay.
If anyone knows me, and I'm sure all my customers can, back me up on this. Anytime I'm in a presentation, whether it's APS or SRP, I always try to relate to something that they know. When we're talking about kilowatt hour rates, no one knows what their kilowatt hour rate is. You look at your bill and you go, I pay $200. Well, what's your rate? I don't know. But when you're driving around town, what do you always see? You always see the price of the gas pump. We all know gas is $4.50 a gallon,
right?
Because you see that rate in your face all the time. Utilities, they don't show you that rate all the time. Right. So anyone can attest that if sat down in a room with me, talk about solar, I always relate it to cars and gas prices and things like that, because I think it's helpful to show that analogy.
It's something that people can relate to on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Yeah, because the average person just gets their electric bill and goes, "This is what I'm paying."
Yeah,
I don't know what's behind it. I know there's things.
Yeah.
But I don't break that down to really figure that out. So when we in the industry have conversations with customers and we talk about kilowatt hours, they kind of look at you and go, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
They have no clue.
But all of us nerds do that with our bills.
Right.
At home,
I guess it's easy for us, right? We've been doing this for 10 plus years or close to 10 years or more. And it's like, this is just language we use, but you're right. It's just, it's confusing to people. Okay. So let's talk about, so we kind of understand what demand is, as using that analogy. So that means there's going to be things in your home that need to be controlled in order to keep your demand down. That's kind of the conversation we were having last time. And let's kind of talk about what those items are. And I'll go to you, Steve, and kind of talk about what are the primary things you guys are focusing on when you're setting somebody up.
Well, we focus on what we call discretionary loads, things that we can turn on and off in a sequence of events and not impact the home's overall functionality. We want to keep comfort. So air conditioning, obviously top in Arizona, and that's going to be your last priority thing we move around energy to. Water heaters is another large item, and your electric dryer. Those are all discretionary. You can do some things with them and still keep the comfort in the home.
So let's talk about that. So good point is obviously Phoenix, right? Air conditioning. We're constantly having to keep our air on a few months out of the year where it's 24/7. And I would say the first thing people say, well, whoa, you're going to mess with my air condition and the way it works. You can't just turn my air conditioner off in the middle of the summer at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it's 115 outside.
Yeah. Well, we actually use the term, we say defer energy.
Okay.
We actually move things around and call it a round robin fashion between, if you got two air conditioners, water heater, dryer. First thing we're going to defer is a dryer. We'll actually have it tumble. Water heater would be the next thing we'll defer. We'll look at the lowest priority air conditioner and then your other. But air conditioners typically only off maybe 10 minutes and then they're coming back on. We're just moving energy about the house to keep that overall speedometer down.
Yeah. If your home jumps 5 degrees in 10 minutes, then you've got other issues.
You absolutely
probably need to get some insulation and maybe put some windows in.
Yeah. If my AC turns off for 10 minutes in the house, I have
You're
no
not
idea.
even going to, you shouldn't notice it.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. So we started talking about things. We talked about what demand is. We talked about things we're going to start controlling or
Deferring.
Deferring.
Sorry,
I like that. I like
we
that.
use terms like that.
No, I like that. So we're going to defer.
Yeah.
I like that. But let's go back to a demand. What do we call it? Do we call it a demand manager? Do we call it a controller? What do we call
We
it?
call it demand manager.
Okay.
I mean, load controller is kind of the older
Demand defer.
technology.
Right.
Okay,
Load
demand
controller is the old.
defer. There we go.
So let's talk about what that is. What is a demand? What we're going to get into the parts of it, but just in a high level elevator pitch, what's a demand manager?
Well, it is a device that like monitors how fast you're going using energy, and then deciding what items to turn on or off through relays that are inside it. It's all tied in with your electric panel.
Yeah. I going back to the car example, I always tell people it's like a governor on your car.
Yeah, cruise control.
Yeah, your speedometer might say it can get to 200 miles an hour, but it's not going to get to 200 miles an hour. Eventually, your governor is going to kick on, or your cruise control. Something's
Wait
gonna
a
kick on.
second. So you mean that my Yugo is
Yeah.
not going to hit 160 like it says?
Maybe on a downhill in neutral or
Or
something.
drop it out of a helicopter.
That must be that whole kilowatt thing or
Yeah.
thermometer thing. I don't know.
Something like that.
Okay.
Something like that.
I'm gonna get rid of that car. All right. So if you look on the screen, we have the Smart Panel 3000 setup, and this is what we provide our customers at Harmon from Inergy. We've been buying this same product since day one, if I remember.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's had changes, design wise, but the basic system hasn't changed
That's
in
good.
that period of time.
That's how you know it works.
Yeah, well,
Talk about how smart this thing is.
well,
So
it gets data. It's managing your energy on a minute by minute basis. It has 52 parameters it looks at. It's a sophisticated computer. It connects through the internet up through Microsoft Azure, the cloud, and all that good stuff. But really, all it does, it's a governor. It keeps that cruise control going.
that's I've never thought about calling it a governor.
Governor.
We talked about that last time as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
Yep.
So we're basically putting a governor on your home.
Yeah. So go ahead and try to floor it. Eventually,
It's going to kick
so
in.
some things are going to kick in and get deferred.
But if you want to floor it, you can.
Yeah.
Short.
You can adjust your governor on your car, right?
Yep. All the adjustments are in both a browser platform portal, but also you have a mobile app. You can go right on it. It's loaded with a profile geared towards your home square footage, but you have all of it in the palm of your hand to change it.
Mhm.
We want you to have comfort with savings.
Right. You got to
it-
find that balance.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
it can actually it's like you said, it's a computer.
Yep.
So it knows the APS rates, it knows the SRP rates, it knows the peak times, it understands all that stuff.
And
It's smart.
It's doing calculations in seconds or milliseconds and making decisions every minute of what to do.
Yeah. So you don't have to.
Nope, you don't have to run
I'm
around
sure
your
you
house.
could go without a demand manager and just try to manage all that at your home, turning things on and off for a couple minutes here and there, but it's going to drive you crazy after one day.
Yeah, we say once it's really dialed in, it's set it and forget it.
Yeah.
It's going to do its job.
Now I know, even looking at the slide, I mean, it talks about how there's optional Wi-Fi thermostat. How does a thermostat communicate with the man manager? How does that play with each other?
So we actually wrote the code. So Wi-Fi's on your thermostat's on your network. We're on your network. We actually tell the device, the thermostat, to change the set point. And those are only typically used more for like roof pack units, older homes that have roof units. Most of our units are hardwired through the air handler air conditioner. So the good thing is the hardwiring, it's always there. Doesn't matter what your router, your internet's doing.
Right. So if your router goes down, doesn't matter because
we're running autonomously regardless of what your network's doing.
Yeah.
Okay. That's probably considering most of the newer homes, it's probably the way you're doing most of
Yeah,
it.
I'd say 85-90% of our homes are hardwired air handler control. The thermostat's just to help the installer with older homes that have roof packs.
How many homes do you guys have put together?
We're
and
up
set up?
over all of our product series, over 50,000 homes.
Wow.
50,000.
I had no idea it was that many.
Oh yeah,
That's
it's pretty substantial.
50,000 homes.
That's here in the Valley. We do have some stuff in Hawaii, Colorado, California, and Virginia.
Oh,
okay.
did not know that.
Yeah.
There's
something
demand
new
right
You're
there.
bigger than we thought.
Yeah.
Well,
He's
but
being
we're
humble.
still your hometown company.
It's still in our hometown company, but they're getting a little national look to them. So, so you guys know. That's awesome. So, and I know we can look at this slide and go, oh, there's CTs. What's a CT? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you want to maybe give us a high level what the CT does.
Yeah. A CT is a current transformer. It takes and measures what's going through your electrical wiring, both from the grid or if you got solar to the grid, and what your big devices are using.
Mhm.
It just clamps on, and through magnetics creates a signal that we can turn into a kilowatt representative.
Okay. And it reads consumption too, is right.
Yeah,
So,
consumption. It reads
Yeah.
both direction, consumption and generation.
so that's kind of cool. And I've seen what we'll talk next about the apps and stuff. I know you guys have app online for a customer to log in and they can kind of see everything. They can, if I remember right, so they can see all the production, the consumption. They can even see what you think their bill's going to be that month.
Yeah, if you plug in your
Nice.
start and stop, it's called costing. We used to call it billing, and a couple of our local utilities ask us to call it something different because it's off. The taxes are off a little bit.
Right.
It always is. But basically, you plug in your start and stop of your bill, and it'll show you breakdown. It should line up right with your SRP or APS bill.
Even if you decide, hey, I want to kind of experiment and increase my demand. Will it show, hey, if you do increase your demand, this is what your bill will be like?
No, it doesn't do that calculation. We're
Okay.
working on some AI stuff that will.
Yeah, that's
actually,
what that was going to be my next question.
That'd be kind of cool.
That would be,
Oh,
because that's kind of what I do too. When people
Right.
call in and they say, my demand's fine and I'm comfortable, but I want to, if I adjust my demand here, what would my bill be like? I'm like, well, let me get out my abacus and start doing all the math and figure it out.
Well, when we're on the phone with customers, if they're like July and August,
Yeah.
and then we say, well, if you move it up a kW, your house will be more comfortable. That's going to cost you about $17.
Right.
If it's the other 4 months normal summer, it's about $14. So
Right.
we try to give them an idea what that cost would be.
Yeah.
Just before we make the adjustment.
So if I'm a customer and I want to adjust my demand, I can do that in the app.
Yep. You just go into the app or on the portal and just go in, pick the month, plus or minus, hit update, and within 2 minutes, it's out there and updated on your system.
So yeah, so like if I'm having a party, we've talked about
Yep.
parties. If I'm having a party and I know I need to up it a little bit because I'm going to need a little bit more demand today, I can go ahead and just quickly do that in 2 minutes and I'm good.
Yeah,
And then make sure you put it back down.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
after the party.
that's a good point.
And do it a little bit earlier in the day when you have solar.
Yeah.
And get a run on the day with that free energy coming off your solar panels.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good point because there's so many people, the myth out there, right? The myths that we all hear about demand managers. When people say, oh, I don't want to ever put those on my home. Why? Because it's going to turn all my stuff off.
Yeah.
I'll have no control of my house.
Yep.
I'll basically be living in a cave that's going to be 110 degrees. And I want to wash this. I want to do that. And I can't do it. What you're saying is your apps give them total visibility and total control of everything.
Yeah. You
Yes.
can live that way.
If you want to.
That's
Well, there
your
are
choice.
people that
Yeah.
do, as I call them, frugal people. They ratchet it way down.
Yeah.
To save. Most people want comfort with savings. Honestly,
Yeah.
It's comfortable when they look at the bill. I'm saving money. Everything's good. Parties coming, or this past July was a little bit of a push because of the extreme heat. Some people bumped up like a half a kW or kW because we're 110, 115 day on day on day.
Yeah.
I meant to ask you that because I know that this summer we got hit hard with phone calls because
we did too.
Yeah. So I was going to see if you did as well.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's bill went up.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, it did. I mean, just even with solar, I mean, I get it. And we talked about how, and it gets too hot, solar gets inefficient and et cetera, et cetera. We don't have that conversation again.
Yeah.
But we got all the phone calls. So I was betting.
No, our team we're always busy May, June as it starts ramping up. But this year's May, June was cooler.
Right.
And July pegged out the mercury.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was the phone calls started.
Yeah. With June being cooler than normal and then July being hotter than normal, people see their lower June bill and go, oh, this is nice. This is great. And then get hit with the July bill and go, oh, wait, what happened?
Yeah, even my own home and on my D27 was up more than I've seen it probably 5 years.
Yeah, that's what I told a lot of customers too. Is like my bill was increased, Steve's bill's increased, Ralph's bill's increased, everyone's bill's increased.
Yeah,
it's not has nothing to do with solar. It's just it was hotter.
If you want to live on the sun, you're going to have to deal with this stuff, right?
Yeah, right?
And we all live on the sun. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about it. It was hot.
Yeah,
and it's still hot. It's 110 today, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, so we're sitting here now in September, and it's hot.
Yep.
So it better cool off.
And an extreme, a mild monsoon season.
Really mild, right?
Yeah.
We've had one bad storm, but anyway. So next, you actually have we have an actual demand case. This is actual demand management in action. And this is an actual case, and I'm going to let Steve kind of talk through what all these squiggly lines are and what this means.
Yeah. So this is actually a home from 2015. It's about 3,000 square foot, 2 ECs, water heater and dryer.
Okay.
Basically, The red line is your on and off peak demand. We have it set high so nothing's being controlled on the off peak hours.
Yes, you have it at 15 off peak, it looks like.
Yeah, well, that was for the graph. It's actually 24 is what we usually set them to, just to let everything run wide open.
Okay.
Yeah, most homes 24 kW.
Free range.
That's free.
And that's during off peak.
You're off
obviously.
peak, it's
hours.
cheap, so why
So
not?
it doesn't matter.
And then as you get into the on peak day, you can see that they were hitting around a 12. It was a weekend. People could say, well, was my doing laundry and whatnot, but a 3,000 square foot house could hit an 11 or 12 pretty easily uncontrolled.
Oh yeah.
As we get into the first, Monday, let's call it, that red wave drops down. The lower is 5.5. That's our on peak demand limit, we call it.
Okay.
So that's the governor set to. We don't want to go above that. Solar's producing energy up until about 4 or so in the afternoon. As soon as that starts trailing off, there's a little circled area. That's where we do our work. Solar's not producing enough energy to keep the ACs and everything running, keeping below the 5.5. We start moving energy between the two air conditioners and water heater, most likely in this case, and keep it where it's comfortable and below that 5 kW, 5.5 in this case.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of savings is significant.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? We looked at the rates last week or last time we did this, and yeah, I mean, you get into a 10 or a 12 demand.
Oh, you don't want to be above that.
No.
You're over $200 a month.
Yeah, it's
just in demand.
In demand alone.
Yeah,
yes.
demand alone. So yeah, if you keeping this down to 5.5, I mean, that's huge.
We basically typically it's about a 50% reduction in our demand of what we call typical home that size on off peak, not controlled, versus putting our technology in place.
We talked last time about a customer. We have a couple customers that I can think of back in the last few years that have talked about how their homes now are cooler in the summer than they've ever been.
And yet their bills are lower.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just like, if you think about it, it's like, that's no way. That's mind blowing, but it's
very possible.
Yeah, because it's all about just shifting your power of when. I do a lot of bill analysis. Customers call in and they say, can you analyze my bills and my production and all that? So typical in APS, especially this last July, everyone's usage went up, so their bills went up. So that that kind of makes sense. In SRP, there's many times where their usage went up, but their bill went down. It's just because of when their usage went up. They used a lot more off-peak power with, super cooling, and they kept their demand low. So, it's kind of cool. They tell them, yeah, your usage went up compared to last year, but guess what? You actually paid a lot less than last year.
Because you learned how to defer
Because
your
you
power?
learned how to defer your power. Yeah, exactly.
I love that term.
Yeah.
And we actually have on their portal, it's called effective energy cost.
Mhm.
And there's a little, green line shows them where they should be shifting most of their energy or enough to the off peak.
Yeah.
And then of course through the solar, you're already not pulling from the grid.
Sure. Take advantage of the cheap rate.
That's one of your levers you can work to get that bill down.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the AC because it seems to be a common thing talked about. Explain to me. So we touched on it briefly, and we said that, you might turn it off for 10 minutes. So explain exactly in a half hour cycle, let's say for SRP, what the demand controller is doing. It sees that your demand is starting to hit near peak, right?
Yeah.
So what's its first reaction?
Its first reaction is the lowest priority item, water heater. And they come on and off as they would need to, so to speak. We shut that off, defer it. Then it'll look in the next minute or two. Nope, the line is still too steep. It's going to exceed. It's going to go to the second air conditioner in a lot of homes, defer it. A couple minutes later, it's going to say, nope, I need to turn the last one off, defer it. And then within 5 minutes, 6 minutes, it's going to be, hey, there's enough energy in the bucket. I can turn that primary air conditioner back on.
Mm-hmm.
Might be the most of 10 minutes is typically what we see.
So you turn my water heater off. I don't have hot water in my house, right?
Well, you got 50 gallons or 40 gallons
exactly,
of hot water.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in your garage.
These are conversations that we have.
And it's in your garage, which is 105, 110.
Exactly.
It doesn't cool down.
Right. I could have my water heater off and turn on the cold water, and
you're not going to notice it.
It's not going to be cold. It's going to be warm.
Now, two-story homes are a little more of a challenge if they have kids upstairs during the daytime or an office. So you want to make sure that's your top priority because heat rises. But in a two-story home where they're downstairs more, downstairs could be the one that's a primary where they are most of the time.
Yeah.
Single story bedrooms are lower priority than the main part of the house. 8 o'clock, you're turning all that air and everything on as much as you want. So that's but it's just moving energy. We call it round robin about the house.
Yeah.
And the ideal settings will have comfort and savings. That's how we work.
Makes
Easy.
sense. I mean, it makes sense, right?
And-
I even struggle sometimes trying to think through this and how it actually works.
Yeah.
I know it works because I see it work, but I just maybe sometimes I don't know how the sausage is made, right? So
It
Well, the
makes sense and
utilities call
saves
it-
sense.
The utilities call it our algorithm. And if you saw it, there's a 6x10 matrix. It looks like something Neo out of the Matrix created. Seriously.
okay, so I mean, this next slide. I mean, this is basically, you're basically just showing us SRP rates and kind of how they work. The E27, the E15, E13, and the E14. That's a lot of rates.
Yeah,
It is.
I don't want to really dive too. We kind of talked about this last time, but just just to kind of show people the rates, and like we talked about how the demand and what they cost per. I think I want to explain that real quick, per kilowatt hour. So yeah, if a demand charge in summer peak is $9.43 from 0 to 3, that means for every one. So for 1, for 2, for 3, so it's $9.43. So you're $28 by a 3 demand. It's not $9 just because you're at a 3.
right.
It goes per. And then the next one, I think from 3 to 10 here, it shows that it's $17.31. It's for every one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but it's just to understand how that's built and how that works. Why it's so important to every number you tick up, it's money.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to start weighing the difference of the benefit. I mean, do I need to keep it at a certain level? What's the comfort of my home? You have to look at all these.
Yeah.
things,
And you have to remember, it's not a linear increase. It's exponential almost,
Right.
so you have to find that
It's tiered.
that sweet spot of I'm comfortable and I'm saving money. So,
right.
And that's going to be different for everyone.
Absolutely. Every home is unique.
It's not, a cookie cutter thing of, oh, everyone's going to get a 6 kilowatt demand. Like, no, that's, we got to figure out what works for you.
And we haven't really talked about the APS demand. And to be honest, I don't really, there are quite a few people on APS demand.
Yeah.
We don't see a whole lot of that.
Well,
No.
their buyback is what was driving people not to
Right.
be doing it, but it was going down with 10% a year.
Right.
And we just started to see in this past year some people looking at their ROI and calculations for customers. There's a case for it, but now as we get into 2024 with their increased rates, which are still being voted on, and the slide you're showing is what we guesstimate it's going to be for an increase. I think when we get into 2024, we're going to see more solar installs having our product on them.
I've been saying it for years. APS is slowly kind of working its way to mirror SRP with the demand aspect of it. Yeah.
And I think this year is going to be the year that happens.
So you really think we'll start seeing more people on the demand rates?
Yes.
More batteries?
Batteries too. Now they did, that 4 to 7 was pretty good for batteries because a 3-hour window, good battery, a Tesla Powerwall, and I wouldn't say some of the others, but can actually peak shave pretty well for 3 hours. I think that was actually what drove that window of 4 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have many customers on APS? I think you said.
Yeah, we do. Oh yeah, I bet you it's 3,000 or 4,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now some of them don't have solar though.
Oh, they just
they're a demand rate only.
Yeah. Okay.
And because they were legacy people that had an old system and they saw the savings and the rates are still there.
Mm-hmm.
So they are still doing it.
And we don't really hear much.
There isn't many people. We don't advertise it a lot.
Yeah.
Our valued solar partners tend to provide a really good package, not only savings for comfort, but you guys are the ones doing the installs and everything.
Right.
We're a manufacturer. We're not an EPC. I think it's what they refer to.
Right.
As.
CPC. Yes.
So,
yeah. Okay.
We'll do them by request in APS. Customer says, hey, I want solar with a demand manager. Yeah, sure. We can show you the pros and cons to it.
And it works out well for customers, and they don't, it's.
Yeah.
But right now it's been parity up until now as far as the cost of the system and the install.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to touch on, I call this the why slide, right? So why include a demand management solution as why it's a smart decision, right? Because there are people out there that don't think it is or don't understand it, so they don't even address it, right? So, bullet point 1, it's talking about basically including a demand management system as part of the solar solution improves the ROI model. Well, we know that's true, right? You're going to save, you're going to spend a tiny bit more money. They're not expensive to put a DM and a system in, but that money is going to come back pretty quick.
Yeah, to prevent a high bill.
Right. It's when you don't do that,
it's punitive.
That your ROI does not look good.
Right.
We don't even talk ROI at that point. because their return is not good.
We've had customers who, not our install, they came to us, they've had solar and SRP, and then, why is my bill extremely high? The company that I got my system with, they went out of business. Can you guys figure this out? And it's an easy solution of, well, you're on a demand rate and you don't have a demand manager. That's why your bill's high. You don't need more panels. You just need a demand manager. That's why.
And we actually get those phone calls too. And,
Yeah.
and tell them to get with either the original solar company, or you guys are one of the ones that we recommend.
Yeah, you never get with the original solar company. You get with Harmon.
Yeah.
Just so we get that straight.
Yeah, right.
Well, we do have a lot of we have customers that we call orphans.
Mm-hmm.
The guys sold them a system, put it on the roof, and they're no longer around. They've been orphaned.
Yeah. There's a lot of
It
them
happens.
out here.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, we have an orphanage at Harmon, and we take them all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but this goes right into the next bullet point, which is basically you should be asking the salesperson if they're including a demand management solution, and if they say no, again, get the why. Why are you not doing it, or why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it? Because you want to make sure they understand what they're doing. Why are you not doing? Because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you're going to be going on a demand rate and you're not going to have a demand manager, we've talked about, you're going to feel pain from that.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that? Right. And so I think that's a question you have to ask. And like you just talked about, you have a lot of customers that don't have that solution, or potential customers that don't have that solution. Or did you say that? Or was it you? Yeah, it was you.
We both kind of.
You both kind of said it.
We
Okay.
both have had
The W's.
We look
Yeah, the
alike. We
W's are
sound
tied.
alike.
The W's. Team W said it.
We even drive the same car.
Yeah, we do, absolutely.
So key. I mean, we got to talk about that. When someone's pitching you solar, you got to make sure they know what they're selling.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, some of them don't.
No.
Oh, absolutely.
No.
Some of them really means a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
And people talk bad about demand management because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
They just know that, don't worry about it. You don't need that. That's just going to turn your stuff off. We don't want to do that. We're just going to put a bigger solar system on so you don't have that problem. Let me talk to you about that.
Yeah.
You'll be calling Ben.
You'll be calling me. Yeah.
And we didn't even install it, and you'll be calling Ben.
Right. Right. SRP doesn't really care how big your solar system is, because they go, well, what was your demand?
Yeah.
I don't care. That's great that you generated all that power.
Right.
What was your demand though?
And even SRP, to be fair, they'll when they talk to customers on the phone, they'll tell them you don't want to go with this huge solar system.
Yeah.
They're very smart and educated about this, and they try to guide people to it as well. But sometimes you just have solar companies out there that either A, don't understand it, or B, maybe not the most up and up company in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens.
They want to push the dollar value of their installation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just remember, solar is a commission business at times. So that guy sitting in front of you, the more he sells you, he might make a couple more dollars.
Yeah, exactly. If you have, 5 or 6 companies, which I always recommend people get multiple quotes. You have 5 or 6 companies that are all very large systems. And then you come to Harmon, and then we have, proposing a very small system with a demand manager. Keep in mind, we are also a commission-based company. Like, this salesperson, has to make a commission because he has to feed his family. And we're proposing a smaller system. Well, guess what? It's because we have your best interest in mind, not necessarily the salesperson's best interest.
And yet, those customers go, well, they're all saying this. 4 out of 5 doctors are recommending this.
Yeah.
You're that lone doctor. Why?
Yeah.
You guys are wrong. And I've heard that a million times.
Right.
Yeah, but if you ask them the why and have them ask the other guys
Yeah.
the why,
Right.
they'll get to, well, wait a minute, this guy doesn't even know what he's selling me.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to ask the why, and I'll show you why 4 out of 5 are wrong.
Right. If you would like to send me a personal check for the extra amount you want to pay, be my guest.
I mean, we're talking from experience.
Yeah.
Steve from experience, who has dealt with customers coming on board because they didn't have it and now they need it. You dealing with people that are getting these huge bills because they don't have it, that we didn't install. I mean, so ask the whys.
Right.
The whys are important. I love that bullet point.
Well, also keep in mind, a big solar system, the sun does set.
Yeah.
And,
It does set.
and you got 2 more hours to get through.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And so this is like, we just started talking about this, where I said many solar companies think that the demand management solutions are complicated and create customer support issues. The issues typically relate to the installation and lack of customer being educated on the system. So again, not only does a customer not understand, and that's why they have issues, because once they get it installed, maybe they're not educated. We'll talk about that in a second. But to the first part of that is solar companies not wanting to sell it because it's too complicated and they don't want to install it. They don't want to even try to get into it. They don't understand it, right? So we talked about that. But now we talk about, okay, well, you got it installed, but you don't understand it, and no one took the time to explain it. So that's happened in the past. I mean, And even at Harmon, that's coming up. We probably didn't do sometimes the best job at explaining things the way we should when it comes to demand management. And we've gotten a lot better and getting a lot better at that. I know in the beginning we had your company actually talking to our customers and basically training them on this is how you do this.
And we've taken that, we continue that whole dialogue. Videos, we have quite a bit on our website now.
Yeah. So that was the key, right? Yeah. So looking at their website, Energy's website, there are some great videos that show you exactly how this works and how to do things, how to change your demand, et cetera, et cetera. And you have a customer support team as well.
Yes, we do. Phone, email, and we monitor that constantly.
So they have a customer support team. We have a customer support team.
Yeah. No, you do. And I know it's an ongoing, imparting our knowledge base over to you guys.
Yeah.
But you guys are, as we call it, you're not just a installer, solar, and demand manager. You guys are, we look at it as an energy advisor.
Yeah.
You advise people on the full scope of what's on their home.
I think Harmon's customer support team is 24 hours a day.
Are you saying you work all day?
Yeah, but it's just my phone number, just my personal cell.
We do have phone numbers.
Don't put that graphic up.
Yeah.
Here's Ben's number.
Right. But that's just key. The fact is, we have to provide the support.
Yeah. It's communication. That's really all it is.
If you get a new toy and you have to know how to use it, I mean,
yeah.
And it's kind of like a new toy sometimes.
But yeah. But we also even have that people, if they call from a known phone number and our IVR and they hit a certain, one of the options, it'll actually send them the option to get the video link on their phone for that subject.
Yeah.
Right in front of them. So if we don't answer the phone, or it's after hours type of thing.
You have those resources. And I always tell people, don't wait till you get your first bill to figure it out. By then it's too late. As soon as you get that thing installed and turned on, ask those questions. Call us, call Steve. Look, I now have a demand manager. I need to know, how do I program this? How do I work this? Things like that, because it's not cookie cutter. We got to figure out what works for you. Let's get it dialed in before your first bill.
Dialed in for their home and how they need to use energy to be comfortable.
Yeah. And I know we were talking about working on some videos to give to customers. And I know these podcasts have been pretty good at even for an SRP customer to look at that, understand how this works. But looking at Steve's website, I mean, there's just so much good information there, and there's just such great videos there, just how to do it. I mean, I don't know that we need to recreate the wheel.
No,
right? I don't think we do.
You guys
we just need to show the wheel.
You guys have those links.
Yeah, we have those links. We need to make sure we're getting those to our customers as they go down, get installed and stuff, so they understand, take the time to look at theirs. And then, of course, like I just said, they can call your support team.
Absolutely.
And that's really my last bullet point, is that your customer support team that helps your customers with settings, understanding the portal, the mobile apps, all that stuff, just to arm them to make sure that as they move forward in this demand world, that they have all the tools necessary.
Well, it's their home. We just put a sophisticated piece of equipment on it. Solar does one thing, but we actually control their comfort level.
Yeah.
And that's
a lot of power.
It's a lot of responsibility.
That's almost governmental. I don't know about that. I'm feeling like pandemic-ish right now.
We're not important, apparently.
No, you guys are.
You put the solar on, we'll take care of the rest.
You guys just are doing your thing without intervention,
right,
so to speak, where we, our role is really important, but also we can be held accountable, or need to be held accountable for what's not right.
Yeah. I always tell people, and this is crazy coming from a solar company, is in SRP on the E27, the majority of savings doesn't come from us. It comes from Steve.
That's right.
It comes from the demand management, controlling the demand. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, let's just go bigger. Let's put as many panels on my roof as I can. Like, that's not where you're going to see your savings. You're going to see your savings controlling demand. We'll take care of a little bit of the savings,
right?
But demand's the biggest part. So let's get that dialed in.
We're going to help you get through the hard time of the day.
Yeah.
With the solar.
The solar
that's
gets
the key.
you.
Right.
It peak shaves, and then when solar trails off, that's where we jump in to get you the rest of the way through.
Oh man, winter time. Do you know how many calls we get in the winter? Because it's 5 to 9 and 5 to 9.
That morning time base is tricky.
Yeah, because there's no solar during that point. It's all demand management, and you have people with hot tubs and heated pools and things like that.
Well, even heat pumps and water heaters.
Yeah.
We tell people, change your thermostat settings to warm up your house at like 4:15, 4:30 if you have a busy house. That way, when the water heater's needed and you've moved it to its top priority, which you can do on the app, people remember a somewhat cool home but a cold shower in winter. They don't forget.
And during the winter, those times, solar's not helping you out.
It is not
It is
helping
not
you.
sunny out during those times.
Yeah,
So
the E27 5 to 9 in the morning
yeah,
was a very creative implementation, is how I'd put it.
Yeah.
I would say that it's a case for battery too, because we have a battery sitting there
Mhm.
that you
Oh.
can basically draw from in the morning
yeah,
and then
4
start
hours.
recharging after that time. I mean, it's just a good,
Yeah, it's peak shaving.
Right.
It's getting you, lifting you up.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
a lot of technology in all this. So just a matter of knowing how to place it, how to use it, and how to benefit yourself from it, because it all
Yeah.
does work really well together. Now, this next slide, which I just think this is cool, and this is kind of an estimator when you look at a house in square footage. You know, we talked about our last podcast how you can't tell me you have a 2,500 square foot house and I can tell you how much solar you have.
Right.
But we can give you an idea on this. Is let's say you have a 2,600 square foot house. This kind of shows you whether it's gas or electric, what your demand, your typically uncontrolled to peak demand might be. So
Yeah, that's a good starting point.
it is a good starting point, because everyone's
It
different,
was different. Yeah.
but it's a kind of an average. And I don't know how did you guys grab this from data that you had?
This is 30 years of data and algorithms and a bunch of math. And
Don't know.
people look at it and say, well, it's about 50% reduction. Well, guess what? It's about a 50%
Right.
reduction to keep comfort. You could probably go to a more than that, like 70% reduction, but then you're probably going to get comfort issues.
Mhm.
And the profile we put on the system, that's the summer high peak for all, gas or electric. And then it's tiered for the next one for all electric home be winter, for those mornings and evenings. And then it's spring and fall are your others. So the profile, the demand limit profile is that's the high for summers. And then it's a bell curve, you want to call it, for the rest of the year.
So just to give an example, like just looking at this is interesting. So let's say a 2,800 square foot home that has gas in it. Your typical uncontrolled peak demand, you have it listed at an 11. That's wow. That's
It's up there,
on
but
average.
I get it.
I bet you I see people a lot higher than that, like you said. It's
Yeah,
higher.
this is really helpful for the people who just bought a home. They just bought an SRP home.
They have no data.
They have no data. And so we're guessing, Steve's guessing, we don't know, because everyone's going to use their power different. Are you going to be more of a, I don't care about on peak and I'm just going to use power whenever I want, or, things like that. We have no data to back it up, but this is good because it gives you at least a starting point of, okay, this is your square footage. We have no data. Maybe you are an 11.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
I'm a 10, but
Well,
just saying.
So the installer, actually, it's a profile. It's based on square footage, and they actually, when they're talking to customers, and the ones we've trained and said, hey, if you're talking to a customer that has maybe aging parents at home or something, need a little more comfort, go. If they say it's a 2,500 square foot house, go to the next tier up. Give them that extra kW. They can always kind of ease back down to it, or they're
adjust.
frugal, go tier below it. Go to the level below it and start low and let them ease up to it.
Can we make this a sticker and put it on every demand manager?
This is really good information.
Put it
I mean,
there.
I think this is probably some of the best information you have. I mean,
It is.
people could really benefit from seeing this.
Yeah.
Well, we're actually working on something that people can go in, it'll be our solar dealers will have it.
Refrigerator magnet type deal?
No, they can plug in the last year's July bill, 5 different parameters. It's going to tell them what to expect for demand management.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it'll be based on actuals.
And I like how you show, just like you talked about, like a 50% reduction with controlled demand, which is really cool. So like an 11 becomes a 5.5. And then what really pisses me off, because I have an all electric home, the demand's always higher, right?
Yeah.
So it is.
Yep.
So in that same house that had an 11 and electric, you're saying, it's a 13. That's just stinks. But
It's a starting point.
I get it.
Starting point.
Yeah, but just to say, and there's a lot of homes. I'm surprised there's a lot of homes in Phoenix that are electric only.
Well, the builders did it. Heat pumps.
Right. That's
And
this house
electric
right here.
water
It's
heaters.
heat pumps, electric water heater.
My house is all electric, and the first time I had engineers over from SRP, and I showed them I could peg out a 14. They didn't believe it. This was back in 2015.
Wow.
And after they saw it, I said, now you see the problem.
Yeah.
And the next slide, I just wanted to say, if you go to the website, you'll see there's a lot of great video links here where you can just, how to log into your account, how to adjust your unit, the dashboard walk, all this stuff. Just really good information where you can just go on there and just get a good video. I think Steve's on every video, if I remember right.
No, we've got a new person doing a lot of the videos.
So you're not doing them anymore?
They
I'm
hired
not
me.
involved in them, no.
But with your personality and the way you generate,
I help with the original draft, and then I turn it over to people who have a better voice and look better than me. Okay?
Are you guys hiring? I'll do it.
You said look better.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And that's, I mean, that's, again, this is Energy Systems, and that's their smart management. And that's just really, really, really good information. What I want to get into is you guys you have a customer support group. You take a lot of calls.
Yes.
We have a customer support group. We take some calls.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about what are some of the common things that people ask or people call about. So just to kind of give people an idea of what they might be, dealing with.
You can go first.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So one of the first ones we typically get is, how do I access my portal and my mobile app?
Mhm.
So we basically we have a video on it. When the installer has a card that they should be handing the customer, and it tells what the installer should have done about the system, a little bit of training, even showing them how to emergency bypass it with the 2-pole breaker out at the panel. You turn it off, we're no longer in the mix for those after hours emergencies.
Yeah.
The flip side shows them how to log in, how to get their portal activated, and how to get into the videos that we have. So that is actually one of the more common. We just talked about a little bit ago, my house is getting warm.
Mhm.
That's the other one, and we all saw it in July. And that's where we actually, if they call in, we're just going to go in real quickly. We have a thing called costing we mentioned about. We can look and say, well, you're hitting your demand starting at about 2 p.m. So or you need to go up a KW, you want us to do it for you, or you want us to walk you through how to do it yourself. We do either. If we adjust it for them, then we send them an email afterwards with the link and the video.
Nice.
That's the other one. And the other one we get is I have a data flow notification. So data is really important to us and to folks like you and even the customer. If the unit goes offline after 6 hours, it sends a message to them that they're no longer getting data to our cloud. The unit will run autonomously, but we want to get that back online. And they can call into us. We have videos on it, how to quickly get their system online. Typically, it's to do with their router. Cox Communication was out and changed something, didn't plug a device back in the same spot. A few other cases, but we do have pretty good ways of getting it back online for them.
Nice.
So those are the most common. And the others are about their electric bill.
Yeah.
And what we focus on is the demand component, not so much the overall bill. That's typically where folks like you would be involved in the conversation.
Now, can someone go directly to you and buy a demand manager?
Nope.
They can't do that.
No, we want it to be done by trained, certified EPCs and partners like you folks.
Right.
They get it done right. There's also, the wiring, there's safety issues, and we really don't sell directly to customers. That's not our business model. And we also don't have a sales organization rep firm. You're talking to the manufacturer, we sell directly to you. There isn't that additional markup on the system. We try to keep our costs down to you and you in turn to the customer. We haven't increased our price since 2016.
Wow.
All right.
And now we had tariffs, we had COVID, we had everything. We have a really good supply chain solutions group. We buy very well from everywhere all over the world, and we've done our best to hold that price.
For everyone out there, that's code for if you want a demand manager, get it now because they're going to be raising.
Well, actually, we've had those discussions.
Yeah.
I mean, we've made a commitment to people, and we've gotten really creative on how we buy.
Yeah, I've seen those notices like from SRP. We haven't raised our rates this year. That means a rate is coming.
But you got to think 2016 to 2023. That's pretty good.
That's
and 50,000 installs.
Yep.
Yeah. Those are all things we learned today. What are we missing? What haven't we talked about when it comes to demand management or to your company? Or
I think the fact is communication, customer education, which you've all been talking about.
Right.
That's the key. And you guys started right at the beginning of the sales process.
Yeah. And it's been a wild ride since 2016.
It has been.
And I see it getting, like you talked about, this is going to become even more necessary in the future.
The valley's growing.
Yep. Oh boy, is it. Yeah.
And the utilities can't put peaker plants in. More demand on the grid. There's a big, opportunity for solar, battery, and good energy management altogether.
Deferred.
Yeah.
Deferred.
I'm hoping with this education bit, it actually kind of gives people like the aha light bulb moment, because, as you know, we've turned a lot of people away, or a lot of people have decided not to go solar and with the demand manager with us because of another company saying, well, this is how we do it and this is the right way.
I'd like to see those companies that aren't doing it the right way start falling by the wayside, and
Yeah.
let the good players like Harmon
Yeah.
move up and get that sale. Happy customers is what we all want.
Right.
And I think we have started to see some of those companies disappear.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because like you said, there's a right way to do this.
Yeah.
We're all in it for the same reason.
Yeah.
Right. We're trying to help people. We're advancing as technology gets better. We're like basically selling a little computer on the side of the house. It's pretty awesome.
Right. Right.
I mean, and all it does is just amazing. And how it defers power and becomes that governor. It's an unbelievable product. We really enjoy being partnered with you. It's been a great relationship. I mean, I haven't seen you in probably 5 years.
No, we've talked.
We talk. We talk.
Today's when you said you're going to do it here in your studio, I'm like, the 45-minute drive over here was,
Right.
I was looking forward to getting here. Seriously.
No, I appreciate that, and I was looking forward to seeing you again and having the conversation. It kind of helps me and gives me a little refresher. I know Ben is the one dealing with our customers a lot, and it kind of helps him as well.
And you and I have talked. And
yeah, we've talked and emailed for ages, and first time meeting him.
yeah, it's good to put a face with the voice now.
Sorry to disappoint.
No,
you can't have everything.
Yeah,
we could. So I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say the difference. I know we mentioned a lot of similarities with the W's and everything, but I guess the difference is he's driving 45 minutes, looking forward to coming here. I live 5 minutes away, not looking forward to coming here. So there's your difference, I guess.
And on that note, so again, thank you so much for coming and doing
our
this with us.
Our company really appreciates the partnership we have with
and we feel the same way, and we appreciate it. So thanks again, Ben. Thank you for joining us again. I'm sure we'll have you back.
See you next week
as we talk about some other things. We are looking at probably doing, I think we're going to tackle roofing next. That's going to probably be our next thing. So we'll see. We'll see about that. But lots of things to talk about on the future. So really appreciate getting this topic down and getting you to come in as a guest. And it really hopefully helps a lot of people understand what a demand manager does, what it's about, and why it's so important. And if you have any questions or anything like that, you obviously can call Harmon Solar. Just give us a call, give us an email. 800-281-3189 is our main line. And from there, you can pretty much get everything that you need answered. We'll direct you the right way. So appreciate you joining us for this little time here, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.